Well, I mean, we've been fighting with these insurers for 7 months, trying to get them to be reasonable. We even offered them settlements at the time, but they've tried everything that they can to drag out the legal process. We're now in a situation where they've conceded, the majority of them, Santam, Bright, Pollard, and as well as one or two other smaller players. And we're now waiting to see how they're going to quantify these losses.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're trying to limit the payouts in terms of the period that they're paying, and they're trying to limit the amounts they're paying, saying that they're going to exclude any foreign guest revenue. So
Right.
there are all these legal wranglings that are essentially happening.
And for people who aren't necessarily following this story closely, because it's actually not new, on what basis were the insurers refusing to pay out to begin with?
Well, essentially, they said that pandemics are not something that was covered by the policy, and that the government lockdown measures were a separate intervening cause and were not part of the impact of COVID-19 in the localized area. So both of those items have basically been rubbished by the courts. The Supreme Court of Appeal, as well as the Full Cape Bench, in two matters, ruled that the lockdown measures were an undistinguishable part of the peril, and essentially that those losses had to now be paid. So with the lockdown losses being covered, the insurers and the merits of them having to concede, we're now in a situation where they're now trying to dispute quantum as hard as they possibly can. So our team of forensic accountants, as well as our legal team led by Jeremy Gauntlet, are looking into this. We had the judgment in the UK with the FCA test case coming out from their Supreme Court, which also said that the issue around excluding foreign guest income is a nonsense, and that the Trends Clause in the Orient Express case that they're trying to use was wrongly decided some 10 years ago. So it looks like everything is going in the insured policyholders' favor, but we're still getting the insurers just treating their customers unfairly. And we think that it's just causing damage to the industry. They're just not, the arrogance at which they are dealing with their clients is just unfair.
The Supreme Court ruling is certainly significant, but to my mind, it appears the legal wrangling is actually far from over. What does this mean for the actual clients in the interim? Are they getting what's due to them, at least insofar as you're concerned?
Well, the disappointing part is, if you take Santam, for example, they've agreed to settle two of their policy types. One of them is an H&L commercial policy. And in that, they've decided that they're going to make, that they believe that they should only be making a 3-month payout. We had a High Court decision in front of a Full Cape Bench that ordered them to pay the full lockdown losses for an 18-month period for the business. Now, they're saying that doesn't apply to all their policyholders with the exact same policy type and schedule and wording. We're saying the SCA must decide. Let's see if we get there. If we get there, let the legal certainty happen. At the moment, it doesn't look like they want the legal certainty. They're going to try and force their clients to take a 3-month take it or leave it offer, not make an interim payment and await the legal certainty that they said that they were going to wait for. It just seems that legal step, being probably advised by their team of lawyers, is just damaging the economy, damaging the industry, and just, again, dragging the industry through the mud.
Yeah. And look, if Santam wants a right of reply, I should probably put on record that we're happy to accommodate that. But what you're referring to is, I think, what's called an indemnity period, right? Help us understand this term and, I guess, ways through which it's complicating this process.
So essentially what it is the insurers design these boutique products to cover business interruption, which funds the business, all the running costs, all the salaries and wages, rent, etc., during the period that they suffer a loss, like the pandemic. Now what we're having is the period for which they're insured is called the indemnity period. So these insureds can choose to be insured for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and they've elected that on the policy. What Santam was saying is that there's a little endorsement on the policy schedule that covers all of the extensions on the policy, but we've had a High Court ruling with a Full Cape Bench that clearly said that was not the case. They've clearly ordered Santam to pay, in that instance, the full 18-month period, and that is very relevant and material to these insureds. Are they due 3 months or are they due 18 months? Why does Santam get to summarily try and bully their insureds into accepting a 3-month full and final without waiting for the legal certainty? And that's what we're frustrated with. We think that specifically is not treating your customers fairly. They agreed early on that the Ma Africa Santam case would set the precedent for these H&L policies in terms of the indemnity period as well as the legal certainty. Now that they've lost in court, they're facing a leave to appeal hearing, and they don't know whether they're going to get to the SCA. Suddenly they're now saying it doesn't apply to all. It's disingenuous and it's unfair.
The real concern now, Ryan, of course, is that even if at the end of this entire protracted process, might I add, the relief might come a little too late. Already we're seeing reports of some sectors beyond, recovery. Is that obviously a big concern that you too are mulling over?
Absolutely. It's been a dire battle for all the hospitality and tourism clients that we've got. These guys fund communities, never mind just their employees. The impact that we've been given by SATSA was for every one employee impacts 10 lives. If you think about lodges in remote areas, what about their conservation efforts? You now cripple their ability to fund any of that. I'd hate to see the state of those individuals' homes, what their Christmases were like. I'm sure the executives of Santam had a wonderful Christmas with plenty of food on the table. I don't think it's the same for our clients. And that's a sad fact. These insurers have been sitting on this money, earning investment income, interest. There's no talk of any offers of interest to these clients that have had to wait almost 10 months for this money to be paid out.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like an untenable situation. Ryan Wooley, thanks very much for bringing us your take on the AM report. Certainly appreciate your time.